So, welcome back children to the continuation class of yesterday's cardiovascular system. So, what is it today? The same thing. The thing which we concluded in yesterday class continues even here, but in a much clear way, so that you can have a clear picture of what heart is about and from where is the blood going. Okay. Now, heart is also made up of muscle, just like the other muscles in our body. So, then heart too needs blood supply to work, right? To keep on pumping, its muscles should work. So, there should be a blood supply to the heart as well. Even though heart is the main reason for supplying blood to each and every cell in our body, still heart itself needs to be supplied with good amount of blood. So, coronary blood vessels supply blood to heart musculature. See, this is the muscle, heart musculature. Okay. Now, can you see these things? These are nothing but the coronary blood vessels. Coronary, C-O-R-O-N-A-R-Y. Nothing but heart. Coronary means heart. So, heart blood vessels, right. Now, if you notice on the surface of our heart, there are structures called as grooves. Grooves means notches which divide heart into 4 parts. Heart has 4 parts, right? Upper 2 chambers, that is 2 parts. Lower again 2 rooms, 2 chambers, 2 parts. So, in total 4. 2 upper chambers called as auricles and again 2 lower chambers called as ventricles. So, one on the left and the other on the right. So, in total 4 parts. These grooves, we can see them dividing the heart into 4 parts. So, auricles, A-U-R-I-C-L-E-S. Auricles are equal to atria. Same term. The part has 2 names. Auricles, we can call them auricles. We can also call them atrium or atria. Atria means a plural. Atrium means singular. Okay. Now, so if you observe the diagram here, now this is the section of the heart, lower chambers. See, in total how many chambers? 1, 2, 3, 4. The upper 2 chambers. See, this is the, again, imagine yourself if that is my heart. Now, this is the left side of my heart and this is the right side. Okay. Now, see. This is the left side, this is the right side. So, how many chambers on the left? 1, 2. This is the upper chamber. So, upper chambers are called as atria and see what is it named? Left atrium. A for atrium, A-T-R-I-U-M. Okay, left atrium. Now, lower chamber, lower left. See, lower chambers are called as ventricles. So, lower chamber. So, left side, it is present on the left side. So, left, V for ventricle, V for ventricle. Okay. In the same way, right side. See this one, right atrium, and again this one, right ventricle. Okay. Now, we are clear about the 4 chambers. So, if you notice on the surface, there are grooves which are dividing, and on the surface we can also see coronary blood vessels, right. Now, see, among all the 4 chambers, left atrium is the smallest. Even here in the picture, it is shown the same way. See, left atrium, this is left atrium, it is smaller than the right atrium and smaller than the ventricles also. Okay. Now, what is the larger chamber? Right ventricle. While left atrium is the smaller chamber, right ventricle is larger chamber. Okay. Now, Now about the thickness of the walls. Again, like how it is shown in the diagram, ventricular walls. What are ventricles? Lower chambers. So ventricular walls. See the walls of the ventricle, they are thicker than atrial walls. See the atrial walls are thinner compared to the walls of ventricles, right? This is the musculature. This is the musculature of the heart, okay? Now arteries. See, arteries means, where do arteries start from? Arteries start from our heart itself, okay? Now veins start, the veins will come from all over our body and they are connected to heart. Now arteries, they start from the heart itself. See, they start from the ventricles. See now, there are two arteries, right? We are having two arteries coming out from the heart. They are aorta. Here it is mentioned here, aorta. See, from where is this aorta coming? It is coming from left ventricle, okay? It is coming from left ventricle. And again pulmonary artery. Where is pulmonary artery coming from? Right ventricle. Here if you can imagine, see, this is right ventricle, this chamber. So here there's a vessel coming from the right ventricle. See, there's a vessel coming here and it is getting divided, okay? It's coming like this, and here this is one branch and here this is other branch. So what is this? Pulmonary artery, okay? This is pulmonary artery. It is coming from right ventricle, okay? Right side of the heart has impure deoxygenated blood. So this deoxygenated blood enters this rigid pulmonary artery, and that pulmonary artery carries that impure blood to lungs to purify it, okay? To remove the carbon dioxide, it is carried to lungs, okay? Now in the same way, this, what is this? Left ventricle. See here on this in this dimension we have to imagine that this aorta, what is it? Systemic artery, also called as aorta. See here, left ventricle upper part gives rise to aorta or systemic artery. See, from inside, if you can imagine, from this chamber it opens and gives this arch like structure. This is nothing but arch, means it is a curved vessel, okay? Walls are very rigid, just like pulmonary artery, okay? So these two are the main vessels that come out of ventricles. So left ventricle is bringing out pulmonary artery, right ventricle is bringing out this aorta. So I'm sorry, left ventricle is bringing out aorta, right ventricle is bringing out pulmonary artery, okay? So pulmonary artery has impure blood, whereas aorta or systemic artery, aorta is nothing but systemic artery. So it has pure blood to supply to all the systems, okay? So now if you see, the muscles of ventricles are very thick, very rigid, thick and rigid. So from this musculature only these vessels are coming out. So definitely the walls of these arteries are rigid compared to veins, okay? So veins are less rigid than the arteries. So arteries are rigid, okay? Now because they have to carry all the blood that the heart is pumping out, right? Veins, they just they act as a drain pipes, right? So more pulsations, strong pulsations are carried from the heart to arteries. So that's why the arteries, the walls of the arteries need to be rigid compared to the walls of veins, okay? Now coming to the main veins. What are the main veins? You can see here. Superior VC means vena cava, okay? Vena cava. Vena cava means vein. It is also called as pre-caval vein, pre-caval. Okay. Now here, if you take right atrium has openings of superior and inferior vena cava. Now in this diagram I have shown you superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Okay, these two are the major veins which come out from the right atrium, right atrium of the heart. See, this is the right atrium, right side, it's present right side, and it is an upper chamber, so it is called right atrium, and from there are openings to superior vena cava and also inferior vena cava, right? So now what is about them? Okay, the other names are given. Superior vena cava, it drains all the impure blood from which part of the body? From upper part, anterior part, head and neck. Okay, in the same way, inferior vena cava drains impure blood from the lower part of the body, from our limbs, waist and everything. Okay. So pre means anterior part, post means the part which is present behind. Okay. Yes, likewise they are named. Superior means upper anterior part, pre-caval, inferior means the lower posterior part, so post-caval vein. Okay, these are the other names. Superior vena cava also called pre-caval, inferior vena cava also called post-caval. Okay, why post-caval? It drains blood from posterior part of the body. Why pre-caval? It drains blood from the anterior, upper part of the body, so pre. Okay, now there are septa. So in the picture you can see this is the in between atria and ventricles, there are septa here. This side if you take right AV means atrioventricular septum, means in between this atrium and ventricle. See here there is a septa, this structure. So right atrioventricular septa, and also left, this one. In the same way, in between left atrium and left ventricle there is a septa, left AV septum, left atrioventricular septum. So in between atrium and ventricles, the structure you see, that is called as septa. Septa is plural. If I am talking about both the septa at the same time, plural, then say it septa. If you want to talk about one septum, either right or left, then one, singular, means septum. M is there. Okay. Now about valves. What are valves? Generally, what is the main function of valves? To guide the flow of the fluid, right? To guide the fluid in one particular direction. Now if you see, in between atrium and ventricles there is an opening which is guarded by this septum, right? A wall is there. Okay, and this atrium is again opening into aorta, right? This right ventricle is again opening into pulmonary artery. Okay, so now the blood from atrium comes down to ventricle. Now from the blood from the ventricle should always enter into pulmonary artery only, it shouldn't go back. So to make it possible, there must be valves. Valves are a must in pulmonary artery and also the systemic aorta which comes from the left ventricle. Okay, to guide the blood, to channel, to make the blood flow in one particular direction. So that is the main use of valves, and they are present between atrium and ventricles. Okay, see here, if you take in between atria and ventricles, in detail we can see in the further future classes. There are tricuspid and bicuspid valves. It is not mentioned here, but I will still tell you. See, on the right side there is a valve that is called as tricuspid valve. On the left side there is a valve called as bicuspid valve. Okay, in detail I will tell you in the later classes, but here the term valve came, so that is why. So septa and valves, they are present between atria and ventricles. Septa and valves are present. Now, as the point came, I will explain you this also. These semilunar valves means half moon shaped valves, they are present in the pulmonary artery which comes out from the right ventricle. Okay. So, the blood moves only in one direction. So, see, there are two valves and okay. And then right atrium, what are the openings present in right atrium? We have discussed a while before. Superior vena cava and also inferior vena cava. These are openings present in the right atrium. Okay. And openings in the left atrium. Where is left atrium? Here. Now, it has openings of pulmonary veins. So, pulmonary veins, they carry pure blood. Okay. So, left part of the heart has pure blood. So now these pulmonary veins, they carry pure blood from the lungs and enter the heart on which chamber? On the left atrium. Okay. See, these two are the pulmonary veins, they are entering heart from the left atrium. And then, so in the upper part of left ventricle there is, see, this is left ventricle. In the upper part, see, this is the lower portion, and in the upper portion there comes this major artery, that is aorta, also called as systemic artery. Here is it, here it is systemic artery. Now, again the upper part of left ventricle means, the upper part of right ventricle, this is right ventricle and its upper portion, what is coming out? Pulmonary artery. Okay. And the valves are present in both these arteries. Semilunar valves are present in pulmonary artery and even other kind of valves are present in systemic artery. So, this is, so you can just get familiarized with the right and left chambers, septas, valves, what are the vessels in different chambers, what vessels are coming out from different chambers, you can get familiar with. Okay. So, we have to have a clear information about different chambers. Okay. Different chambers of the heart, what are they separated, what is heart made up of, what are the vessels supplying heart. So, this class is all about that information, right? Okay, thank you.